Counselor, that's right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
May it please the court, opposing counsel, members of the jury. Mr. Griffin's right. This is your city. And Marion Parsons is a member of your city. You, as members of the jury, make up Nita City. So does Ms. Parsons. For the entirety of her life, she has made the city of Nita her home. Like many of you, I'm sure, she built a home here. This is her home. It's a modest home with 3 outbuildings on 2/3 of a tract of land. And it's your job, as jurors, to determine its worth. How exactly do we put a value on her home? Mr. Griffin wants you to consider the economic realities. And so do I. Consider the economic realities of Ms. Parsons as she is being forced to sell her home by the city she called her home. As jurors, it's your job to determine what Ms. Parsons' property is worth. As you examine the evidence, I want you to pay special attention to the intent of the city of Nita. There are experts going to tell you that she valued the land for its best and highest use. But remember, the city of Nita wants to buy this property as a residentially zoned property on the cheap in order to build a racetrack and stadium for use commercially. They want to buy a residential property and turn it into a commercial property. Now, in order to prove to you that Ms. Parsons' land should be valued as a commercial property, as the city intends to use it, we will call 2 witnesses. First, you'll hear from Marion Parsons, and Ms. Parsons will tell you about how for the last 30 years she has lived at 358 Patterson Plank Road. She will tell you that her late husband built the 2 garages you see here in order to work as a mechanic, servicing your city, servicing your vehicles. She will tell you that he made his livelihood on this land as a commercial property. She will tell you also that while she and her husband lived on this land, and she continues to live on this land, it brought them the money they needed to continue to build these outbuildings, sustain their livelihood. She will tell you that she doesn't want any value of money more than what is deemed the fair market value of her property as it is intended to be used by the city. Next, you'll hear from Mr. James Matson. Mr. Matson is an expert in the area of real estate appraisal. He brings 30 years of experience in valuing properties. And Mr. Matson will tell you that he's worked for cities as well as for large corporations such as GM, valuing property all over the country. He will tell you that he used what's called a reproduction cost approach, which used comparable land sales as well as the cost of reproducing Ms. Parsons' property, Ms. Parsons' buildings, her home, minus depreciation. Now, the plaintiff's going to make a big deal about how these buildings are dilapidated. But none of that really matters in the valuation if you look to Mr. Matson's calculations. He takes that specific depreciation and factors it in. And at the end of the day, he will tell you that factoring in the fact that these buildings may be a little bit older and dilapidated, but factoring in the value of the land that it sits on, the 2/3 of an acre, as well as the outbuildings in the home, this land, as the city intends to use it, would be worth $94,500. That is the fair market value. At the end of today's trial, I'm going to come before you and I'm going to ask you to do exactly what Mr. Griffin asked you to do. Listen closely to the facts and the evidence because it's important. He's absolutely right. It's important to weigh every single piece of evidence and remember that the plaintiffs have the burden to prove to you that this piece of property is only worth $24,000. Now, I'm going to ask you to consider what's fair. What is the fair market value of Ms. Parsons' property? The lifelong home in your city that the city is taking from her. Is it worth selling her home at a residential price to be used for commercial gain?